Welcome to another Lispy review. This time I'm going to review an audiobook / book of a book that was suggested to me by one of my teacher friends, Miss Alberti. She suggested this book to me in February or March. I don't remember. We were still in school. So pre-pandemic, BC, before Corona. And when she told me about it, I went and put it on hold through the Austin Public Library. Now, Miss Alberti is a true audiobook lover, and she only suggests good audiobooks to me. And so I knew that this was going to be a good audiobook. So I went and put it on hold, and the hold time was like 15 weeks, right? And when I got it, when my hold was ready, it was the beginning of the pandemic. Like, we had just started. I'm going to say like week 2, week 3, like beginning of April. And the book is about a pandemic. So as soon as I started the book, I was like, whoa. I don't think I can do this. Mayday. I don't know. But it was so good. Like, I couldn't stop. And then, like, in my head, I'm going, this isn't a good idea. It's not. Like, this is going to get bad. But I couldn't stop. Like, I was listening to the audiobook, and the person reading it was amazing. Like, she was so calm and so eloquent while she read that I couldn't stop. And like, I'm walking my dog crying, listening to this book and coloring and like not being able to control my feels because it was just so good. Like, I'm gonna get a tattoo because of this book, because of the influence of another book in this book. Like, don't you love when that kind of thing happens? And now I'm gonna shut up and tell you what that book was, because now I got you, right? Like, you're gonna read it. So this is not a YA book, but it felt like a YA book. And that's one of the things I loved about it, is that while it is an adult fiction book, it feels like YA. And I would not be, I would second guess suggesting it to students. And I did when my school does Good News once a week, and I was asked to do a What Are You Reading Wednesday video. And so I told them I'm reading this book and I'm listening to the audiobook, and it is absolutely fantastic. Like, I already have the author's next books as audiobooks put on hold through Austin Public Library, because this book was fantastic. Like, I have not heard an audiobook or read a book that touched me the way this one did. And I don't know if it's because of the pandemic that we're currently in, or because of the way that it is written, that I loved it. It is realistic fiction. It is a little bit sci-fi, but it is very relatable because it's about a pandemic. And now I'm going to tell you, that book was Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. It was long. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. It's a long book. Like, the audiobook took me almost 2 weeks to listen to. And there were some times when I had to stop because I knew it was getting too close to home and too much. But it was just so good. So it starts with Javen, and Javen is he used to be a paparazzi, and now he is a paramedic, and he's sitting and he's watching a play of King Lear, and that's important. And the main character who's playing King Lear, the actor's name is Arthur, and he has a heart attack during the play on stage. And he's hitting himself and he's slapping the wall, and then he falls over and dies. And Javen runs on stage and he tries to save him, and like he does CPR, and a doctor comes, and like there's all kinds of things happening to try and save this man, but he's dead. Like, he's dead. And other people involved in the play are watching him, and they're like, oh my God, he's so into character, he's doing such a good job. But then he actually dies, and they're like, oh shit. Like, he really just died on stage. So what is cool is, as Javen is on his way home, he finds that his girlfriend has left him at the play, and she goes home. She says she has a headache, and his friend calls him. His friend's a doctor, and says, Javen, there's something going on. I know you've heard about the Georgia flu, coming from the country of Georgia, not the state. These people are coming on this plane, and this person who got off this plane came straight to the hospital, only had interaction with other people on this plane, and that person is already dead. Like, this flu is going crazy. And Javen is like, no. Like, that's not a thing. And the doctor's like, no, like, you need to get out of the city. And now, because we're living in a pandemic, I'm like, no, you need to listen, and you need to get your groceries, and you need to get out, or you need to like go shelter in place, like do something, like stay safe. But of course, like, I'm thinking, like, if that were me pre-pandemic, I would have been like, no, you're silly. And to see that thought process or to hear that thought process in a book in another person, like it totally makes sense. And so the story goes from Javen finding out about the Georgia flu to it hitting one hospital to spreading. And it just takes over everything. And they call it the fall. And it's the fall of everything. Like like you learn that gas only lasts 2 years before it goes stale and it can't be used anymore, and so does plane fuel, and it's there's just so much. Like I was listening to it like, oh my god, I never thought about how that would happen, and I never thought about like what would happen when when we can't get to grocery stores and when groceries run out of food. Like I can't grow my own food. I don't have a garden. I don't have seeds. I don't know how to do that. I'm sure I could figure it out, but like right now I couldn't figure it out like right now. Like, I mean, it's going to take some time, right? To plant seeds and wait for things to grow. So things like that, and things like, what do you do when you truly can't go anywhere? Like when you're trapped in your home and you're afraid to go out, like things like that you don't think of that now you're thinking of. So it follows Javen kind of through that. And then the true story is about, in King Lear, in the play where Arthur died, there was this little girl named Kirsten. I think her name was Kirsten. Maybe it's Kristen. I'm pretty sure it's Kirsten. And she's grown up in all of this, and she's seen the world change after the fall, and how this pandemic has truly changed the course of humanity and the world. There are no more borders. There are no more states. There are no more countries, because what does it matter now? Like, I think it's like 75% of the population hasn't made it, and they died, and they caught the flu and they died. And so it follows Kirsten as she is living and going with this traveling symphony, where they travel to different towns, they're called, and they either play their orchestra music or like their music in general, or they do a play nightly for different people. And this is just what they do. And their motto is survival is insufficient. And that is a line from King Lear. I have never read King Lear. I've never seen King Lear. The only Shakespeare thing I've ever read is Romeo and Juliet. I'm not a Shakespeare snob, but that line truly hit home for me. And it really, like, Kirsten has it tattooed on her left forearm. And now in the future, if you see me, I'm going to have it tattooed as well, because I think it's truly important to understand that in a pandemic, survival is insufficient. We can't just survive. Some of us, yeah, we're just surviving. We're just making it day to day. But my principal told us, in regards to online learning, we can't just learn it and we can't just do it. We have to get good at it. And that's how I kind of feel about life in pandemic. Like, we can't just do it. We can't just go along with it. We have to be good at this, because we don't know how long we're going to do this. And we know that we have to take care of each other, and we have to do this together. And this is truly a time to try something new. To read a book that you might not have read before. So many people are trying bread baking. And I think that's really important. Like, try something new. We're trapped at home. This is the time to do things that you wouldn't normally do, right? I haven't washed my hair. Like today I washed my hair, so I decided today's a good day to vlog. But, I've been watching a lot of Big Bang Theory, and I didn't do that a lot before because it's funny. And, things like that, like do something a little bit different that you wouldn't have done. Anyway. Survival is insufficient. So they go on and they think it's important to still keep up the classics and to play music and to do plays. And it follows Kirsten. So you learn about how Kirsten has grown up in the pandemic and how life has changed for her. But my favorite part, which is really pretty much the book, but is how the stories of all the different people come together. And it's truly a lesson of how small the world truly is. So you learn about how one of Arthur's best friends, how the pandemic affected him when he used to be a consultant, and now where he is now, and what he's doing now, and how it got to this point. Like, he's trying to fly out, right, of where they are. And most of, like, the pandemic starts, yes, in Georgia, but then it comes to Canada. So the majority of the setting, like, of Javen and Arthur was in Canada, which I thought was really cool, because there's not many books that I get to read that take place in Canada. And how it started from there and then just travels, right? And everything just connects, and how Arthur's wives each play a different part in the world, and how Kirsten plays different parts, and how her friends play different parts, and like how weird people are in Apocalyptica. Like, it's literally kind of like Mad Max, where everyone, like, there are different rulers and there's cults and there's a prophet and everything's kind of crazy. But when you start making those connections, especially with about a dog, it's really, really cool. So Station 11 is the title of a graphic novel that one of Arthur's wives was writing, and it plays a huge part. And when you find out what Station 11 really is in the book, it's one of those moments where you're like, oh my, literature is truly the foundation of everything, and words and story and everything. It's really, really cool, and I loved it. This is definitely now one of my favorite books. So I hope you will give it a listen or give it a read. I loved it so much that I have ordered the book. I've also bought the audiobook, and I've bought the ebook. I mean, sorry. Yeah, I bought the ebook and the audiobook, and that's because I borrowed the audiobook from Austin Public Library, and I already bought it because I want to listen to it again because it was so, so good. So I hope you will love it too. If you do, let me know, and I hope you are staying safe. Bye.